Great, so thank you very much. And firstly to explain, it's very obvious after that introduction that I'm not an academic. I work within industry, but what we very much have in common is the shared passion for the students that you work with, and through you, the students that I've been able to work with. And it's been great to meet a few of you over the last few hours. And actually, a few people have fed back that they're very familiar with the materials that Positive Impact creates, and you use it and share it with your students. And that, for me, is amazing to hear, because a lot of the industry are sometimes a little bit slow in wanting to come forward around this area. So it's great that academically you're ready to steam forward with that. So hopefully, what I'm going to do today is give you a little bit of an introduction into what ISO 20012 is, but more really focus on what the opportunity is for you and for the students that you're working with. So to give a little bit of background to the creation of ISO 20012, just could you raise your hand if you're familiar with ISO 20012? Yay, brilliant, great. So let me tell you a bit of the story around its creation. It started life as a British standard. It was catalysed and inspired by London winning the Olympic Games. The British standard was then used internationally, and it grew to an international standard. I chaired the standard. I'm very proud to be the youngest ever female ISO chair, because it's traditionally, I think that says a lot about what this standard is about. It's very interesting working in the international standards arena, because a lot of things have been done in very traditional ways, and with this standard things were done differently. So we had over 30 countries involved. Each of them sent about 3 people to the meeting. Now, 2 of those people at least were from industry, so either event academics or event industry practitioners. So even though the standard itself is a standard, so it's written in standard language, it has been created by people within the industry, and it's been trialled by those people. So some of the countries we had involved: Denmark, Norway, Australia, UK, US, Japan, China. So these people all worked together to create ISO 20012, which launched last year in time for the London 2012 Olympics, and it was used by the Olympics. It's also being used by a number of high-profile people who you probably know. So we've got the case study there from Old Trafford, Manchester United, Zurich Bank have been using this. So it's out there and it's being used. I think one of the most interesting points is that it's out there in the whole wide world now, being used around the world. So where we catalysed it within the UK and created it, we now have to be very aware that places like Japan, Norway, Denmark, Sweden are taking leadership around this. So that's something that we really need to make sure that the UK is maintaining that momentum. So what's the future for ISO 20012? I'm just going to spend a minute now going through what ISO 20012 is in a very, very quick way, because some of you may be aware of this, but it's important to set the context. It's not a checklist. It's very much about understanding what your situation is, who your stakeholders are, what your context is, what your scope is, identifying your own issues for sustainability, so what your own social issues are, economic issues and environmental issues are, and then setting objectives, targets, and placing resources around your own objectives and issues. A lot of what the last few presentations I heard was talking about small business advancements in Australia, and ISO 20012 is good business practice. It's not just focused on a checklist around green credentials. Now, industry do find it a little bit hard because it's not a checklist, but this is where one of your opportunities comes in for the students. If your students can come into the workplace with an understanding of what this is and an understanding of how to engage with stakeholders, how to provide context, and how to identify what your objectives should be, that's a big advantage for them. So what's the future for ISO 20012? Well, the 2020 candidate cities for the Olympic Games have just released their reports. So that's Madrid, Tokyo and Istanbul. And within their proposals, they've each said that they will implement ISO 20012. So that is quite massive, because it means that we're now at the level where international Olympic events are just taking it as accepted that ISO 2012-1 will be used. What that means is that international sport federations will also be looking at this. And in fact, Sport Accord, which is the association for sporting federations, has released a 5-pillar step for how the sport federation should learn and implement sustainability. And Positive Impact has created some education which was funded by the IOC and Sport Accord to help those sport federations understand how they can understand their environmental, social and economic impacts. Event Scotland this year is Year of Natural Scotland, so Event Scotland have run some fantastic workshops around supporting their events to understand what sustainability means and how ISO 2012-1 can be implemented there. And the Eurovision Song Contest implemented it. So a nice mixture of events there, which kind of shows that it's relevant for everyone. It's also very much relevant for SMEs because the industry is made up of majority SMEs. So that's one barrier that sometimes people perceive. So I want to talk a little bit now about Positive Impact and the opportunities that really exist for your students in relation to that. How many of you are familiar with Positive Impact and the work that's done there? Brilliant, that's fantastic. So just to give a bit of context, I work for a company called Sustainable Events, which is a consulting company. Separate company is Positive Impact, it's a not-for-profit. The consulting company has funded the not-for-profit for many years, but it's brilliant because the not-for-profit is now standing on its own 2 feet, which shows that the industry is really interested in this. So I'm going to tell you a number of things that Positive Impact does and how that's relevant for you and the students that you work with. First of all, we have a lot of internships and we work in a very unique way, so people don't have to come to the office in Manchester. There's a lot of research opportunities. Secondly, we answer a lot of students' questions around dissertations and we also really encourage them to provide the materials to us once they're finished, so we can put it up on the website and it can act like a library of resources. It's really interesting because in the many years that I've been doing this, only 2 students have given me anything to go back up on the website afterwards. And it's a huge opportunity, so I know that you'll have the chance to encourage them to do that. They might be scared, so I don't know, but we'd love to hear it because we're very aware there's lots of research going on that the industry needs to hear, and we can be that portal to translate that. We have a vision for the UK for what sustainability looks like in 2020. We've created groups, so clusters of people that come together to talk about this vision. We have a group of sustainability experts, including government bodies like DEFRA and RAP. We have a group of sport event people, a group of business event people, a group of culture event people. They all meet twice a year. We'd love to have a group of academics, we'd love to have groups of students meeting around this in terms of how they can take it forward. The 2020 vision outlines targets for what we should be looking at within the UK. These match government targets, so things like measuring carbon and reducing carbon by 40%, things like having zero waste to landfill within the events. We have a Positive Impact Ambassador scheme. This is open to everybody, so you and your students. When people become an ambassador, their name and photo goes up on the website. They receive a presentation which they can use wherever they go. So the real aim is to make sure that as many people as possible can talk to their peers and the industry about sustainability and really explain what it is and how to move forward on it. We have what we call a state of the industry research and questionnaire, and this is where we're going out into the industry, doing presentations and asking them for their feedback on, okay, where are we with sustainability and this topic? I'm quite sure that a lot of you are doing brilliant research around that as well, and it would be fantastic to be able to collaborate with that, because our research is pretty much saying to an audience, put your hand up if you're doing this, or tick this box if you're doing that. So it would be great to be able to collaborate on that. We provide content for the Sustainable Events Summit, and very interestingly, we had the first summit in January, and we had a number of sessions that people could attend and choose from. And one of the most popular ones was all about research around sustainability in the event industry, which Leeds Metropolitan University delivered. And we were quite surprised from the practitioner side that the research bit would be what the industry wanted to hear, but they really did. So again, it's how we can get more of that out to the industry. What have I missed? Oh, we work with a number of the industry associations, such as MPI. Globally, we work with associations like UFI, the International Association for the Exhibition Industry, really trying to communicate out our education to those bodies. And yeah, a number of online content pieces which are commissioned by all sorts of people. But some of them we can produce for free and some as very low priced resources. So again, it might be relevant for your students to have a look at within that. I want to talk about a real student opportunity which we've just come across in relation to a university in Lausanne, AISTS. It's a sport-related university. And I just want to use this as a case study example so that you can see the opportunities that exist for the students that you're working with around the area of sustainability, and really how ISO 20121 is going to impact on this. There are a number of people that need to know how to implement ISO 20121, and the understanding just doesn't exist within the industry. So we're working with AISTS to be able to train their students so that from the minute they leave university, or maybe while they're still at university, they can go out and be working in industry to deliver workshops on how to implement ISO 20121. There's an example there of the amount of money that they would be generating per client, and it's a massive opportunity for them to be able to lead industry transformation. And I really wanted to highlight that because that's very much about working with newcomers to the industry rather than existing people already in the industry. And the feedback we've had from the students is that they see that as a very good opportunity. So your role, I will be around for this evening, and I would really love to meet as many of you as possible who are interested in collaborating around the message of sustainability. Positive Impact exists to create a sustainable event industry. It's a fantastic, exciting role, but it's also quite challenging, and the fact that you work a lot with people who we know are passionate about this subject, it would be great to see how we can collaborate together. We have a number of ways that we communicate out to universities, but I think it's easiest if I just say come and talk to me and let me know what you think would work, because you know your students the best. So in summary, and I've completely rattled through that, so maybe there is time for questions, I don't know, but ISO 20121 is a massive opportunity. It's very rare to have an ISO standard that is just for one industry, and ISO 20121 is just for the event industry. So the whole world in the standard world is looking at what the event industry does with this. It's also one of the very first sustainability standards, and there's a big area of growth around different sustainability standards now. Supply chain and community creation. So again, globally, people are looking at what's happening with ISO 20121. It's a great opportunity to have events be given more profile. As we can see from the IOC 2020 Candidature Cities, the standard is not going anywhere. It's going to increase in importance in terms of government strategy. I think it might have been mentioned yesterday that part of the all-party parliamentary group questioning was around sustainability. So this is a fantastic opportunity, and I really hope that we can collaborate to make the most of it. Thank you.
That means you have 2 minutes for questions, because we did start 5 minutes late, so we should do that. Has anyone got any questions of Fiona at this stage? Yes. I'll give you this.
I just wanted to ask, I know a little bit about obviously the work that you're doing, and I suppose what I wanted to perhaps ask you was just to link the relevance to small business and sustainability and what Positive Impact can do, because we talk about the external view and what we can do for what our students potentially could do for their events and their clients dealing with their events, but how does that link with business as well and business practice?
This is absolutely essential for good business. Whether you're running a business with one person or 150 people, you need a management system in terms of having processes in place. You should have objectives. To have objectives around your economics, your staff engagement and your community engagement, your resource use, it's pure business sense. I think sometimes there is a barrier around the word sustainability and what that means, and whether it's a bolt-on or whether it's something that big companies pay somebody else to do. But this is all about good working sense. And through Positive Impact, we've actually tried very hard to launch resources at very low price points so that individuals or 3-people SMEs can still access an understanding of what ISO 20121 is. If I had more time, I'd go a little bit more into certification. That is a potential cost barrier, but just so that you're very clear, first party certification exists, which is where somebody says, I've done the steps of ISO and here is my evidence. So that whole barrier around cost of someone checking you should not be a barrier.
Thank you very much. I won't take any more questions. We'll pass on to Liz. Thank you very much again, Fiona, for your time. So, over to Liz Sinclair, who